big special deal, right?
No.
We have a guest, so it's not just me, it's a guest today. Brian Ewenson is from a company called Spaceport Sheboygan. Okay? So, relatively local, but yet space, right? So, there's rumors flying around that he worked for Johnson Space. That's a true rumor, as it turns out. Yes, you had a question?
Have you been on the space station?
You're going to have to wait until the program starts.
Dang
So, what do we like? We like itching, right? Hands raised for questions. Wonderful. Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this. I heard really, really fantastic things about what he was today this morning. So, I'm going to go in the back, and I'm going to be quiet, and you guys are going to do the same. I'm going to sit next to you.
Aw.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me out today. As alluded to in the introduction, my name is Brian Ewenson. I'm an aerospace educator by trade. That's basically a big word to say I'm a teacher. But for the past 20 years, my students were a little bit bigger than you guys. I was a teacher or trainer for NASA's astronauts in the Space Shuttle program down in Houston, Texas at the Johnson Space Center. So as an educator, this is my dream for you guys today. I have a teacher with an apple on his or her backpack taking 4 kids on the ultimate field trip. We're going to see what it's like to ride a rocket into space, to live, work, eat, sleep, and play in space, as well as how we get back safely. Now, I'm not originally from Wisconsin, nor Texas, nor even the United States. I'm originally from Canada. I'm now a dual citizen of Canada and the United States. My dream of working in the space program began at 4 years old on a family trip to the Kennedy Space Center from Montreal, Quebec in Canada. My twin brother and I at 4 years old were so excited by both aircraft and spacecraft. Right then and there we told our parents we wanted to work with airplanes and rocket ships when we grew up. With a lot of help from mom, dad, family, friends, and in particular the teachers in our lives, we were able to achieve our dreams. My twin brother is an Air Canada Airbus 330 captain, gets to fly all over the world. I wanted to fly a lot higher, go much faster, be on time, and not lose your luggage. I decided to join the space program. Started my career in Montreal, Quebec with the Canadian Space Agency. NASA liked what I was doing. They said, how would you like to come to a place where it never snows? We'll pay you in American dollars. We'll help you with your immigration visa. You get to work with your heroes, and you get to launch stuff into space. My suitcases were packed, and all of about 30 seconds, moved down to the United States, to Texas, where I trained the astronauts how to fly the space shuttle, rendezvous and dock with satellites, such as the Hubble Space Telescope. When you're sitting in school and you're like, where am I ever going to use this math in the real world?
Never.
This is the real world where you got to use your math. Being a proud Canadian first, also got certified in telerobotics, operation of the Canadarm, the big robot arm that Canada built for the shuttle and the space station. And towards the end of my career, wanted to do something a little bit different. So as part of a department called Weightless, Environmental Control and Life Support Systems on Spacesuits. That acronym has more S's than the word Mississippi. So that portion of my job was testing spacesuits to make sure that astronauts were safe when they went outside on spacewalks. All of that began with the dream of a 4-year-old. You guys can do anything you want to do when you grow up. But your end of the bargain is you have to stay in school, study hard, and apply yourselves. I was lucky enough to earn 3 university degrees. I have a degree in astrophysics, so I'm a rocket scientist by trade. I have a degree in American history and political science, and I'm also a certified elementary school teacher. Astronauts were just big kids. So learn all that you can. Now, I was lucky enough to spend 20 years in the Space Shuttle program. To give you a sense of the size of the vehicle, it's the same size as an apartment building with 19 floors. It weighs 4 million pounds. The big orange fuel tank is what we like to call it, NASA, the world's greatest coffee thermos. 500,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen, 500,000 gallons of liquid oxygen. Every 25 seconds during our 8.5-minute ride to orbit, will use the same amount of liquid fuel as that of an Olympic-sized swimming pool every 25 seconds. 2 solid rocket boosters on either side. Solid means hard like the table. Once we turn those on, we cannot turn them off. The astronauts say once the solids ignite, you know you're going somewhere for at least 2 minutes. We get to 26 miles high before those booster rockets separate. Now the orbiter, the part that sort of looks like an airplane, is what we like to call at NASA the world's greatest pickup truck. Carries 7 people and 65,000 pounds of stuff in the back. That payload bay where we carry the stuff up in is the exact same dimension as one of your big yellow school buses. We could put Mrs. Frizzle in the driver's seat, put a whole class in the back, and send the magic school bus to space. If you've ever been on a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737, the space shuttle is 2 feet shorter than a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737.
How long is the airplane?
The airplane, the entire shuttle stack is 184 feet tall. So it's somewhere around 36 feet shorter than the Statue of Liberty in New York City.
Almost as big as a giant.
It's a big, giant vehicle.
But I mean, everyone here, like, so it's taller than everyone.
Taller than everyone in here.
You said that you use, every 25 seconds, you use an Olympic-sized pool of fuel?
Yes.
So how much fuel altogether is in the spacecraft?
500,000 gallons.
Oh my God.
So 500,000 gallons in that big orange fuel tank. Now, there are 6 astronauts that have come from the state of Wisconsin. 6 of the 7 are actually retired or deceased. 1 still active astronaut.
Awesome.
One of the things that's really cool about this is they all come from small towns. Places like Winter, Wisconsin, Iroquois, Sparta, Superior. You don't have to grow up in a big city to do great things. You can grow up in a place like Jeff Williams, Winter, Wisconsin, population 325. You can aspire to do great things, no matter where you grow up. But once again, your end of the bargain is you have to stay in school, study hard, and apply yourselves. Now this here is a photo taken from the International Space Station by Jeffrey Williams. I'm gonna stand here and sorry to talk to the back of you, but this is the entire state of Wisconsin pretty much without clouds. When we look at this photo here, you can actually see the Mississippi River coming down the west side from Minnesota down through Iowa. La Crosse is about right there. Here is Fond du Lac. I drove up from Sheboygan, this bump right here on Lake Michigan, and as we come up by Algoma, 3 Rivers, all the way up into Dora County and Washington Island right there. So you can see quite a bit from space. Wisconsin, as we say, has 6 astronauts that have participated in the space program from 1958 all the way to the present days. Now we have this home in space called the International Space Station. It has been in space for the past 20 years. 18 of those years, your entire young lives, there's not been a day that you're alive that there's been at least 2 people living off of this planet who are no longer citizens of the United States or Russia or Canada, what I like to call citizens of the universe. For the past 18 years, we have had a continuous human presence in space. And if the space program continues the way it is going right now, there may not be another day in your entire lives that there's not at least someone living off of this planet. Now, that space station is the same size as an NFL football field. We could bring it to Lambeau Field, we could put it down, and it would go from end zone to end zone. So big, we can actually see it cross over Sister Bay, Sturgeon Bay, Sheboygan 16 times a day. There's a NASA website called Spot the Station. Put in your hometown, your state, and your country. It'll tell you exactly when it's crossing over and where to look in the sky. It is so bright, you don't need binoculars or a telescope. You can see it with your naked eye. And generally, you can see it for somewhere between 6 to 8 minutes as it's crossing over at 17,500 miles an hour. Is that going pretty quick? Absolutely. If we were to be in a car in Los Angeles and we wanted to drive across the United States all the way to New York City, how many days do you think that would take?
A long time.
At least 2 years or maybe 5.
No, less than that.
Just days. A couple of days. How many do you think?
3, 4.
About 3 to 5 days.
What?
And a modern airliner going from LAX to LaGuardia in New York would take about 5 hours. Space station will go from Los Angeles to New York City in 9 minutes. One complete tour of the Earth in an hour and a half. We're actually traveling so fast, we're going to have a sunrise and a sunset every 45 minutes, meaning 16 sunrises, 16 sunsets in one day. Think you could go to sleep and wake up? You go to sleep and wake up every 45 minutes?
No.
Pretty tough. So just like here, we have big window shades up so your body's not tricked into thinking a day is only 45 minutes long. Now what I like about the space station program is we have people from many different countries working together with a common goal. If we can treat each other with respect in space, we should be able to treat each other with the same kind of respect here on Earth. Does anyone know what the language is that we use on board the International Space Station?
Oh yeah, but
English.
We do have acronyms, absolutely. Space language, English, what else?
Russian?
Canadian, French. Canada and Britain, we just add U to words like color and neighbor.
Probably a dumb answer, but all of them.
The language on board the space station is that of the commander for the 3-month increment. Growing up in Canada, I was lucky enough to learn English, French, Spanish, and Italian, and right now I am trying, the key word is trying, to learn Russian. If you think my degree in astrophysics was tough, Russian is kicking my backside. But by learning multiple languages, I've been lucky enough to travel to over 20 different countries on this planet, and you may even find yourself off of this planet. In 2 weeks, the commander for the space station switches over to Luca Parmitana from Italy, so the entire crew has spent the past 3 years learning Italian. The commander right now is from Russia, so everyone learned Russian. Learning languages opens the world to you. So let's practice saying hello in some of the languages of the space station. So we'll start with one of the toughest ones. From Japan is Konnichiwa. Ears open. Eyes forward. Thank you. Let's do German. Hallo. Excellent. Spanish. Hola. French. Salut. T is silent. And Russian. Videt. Excellent. You guys are going to be world travelers when you grow up. So right now we actually have 3 crew members on board the International Space Station. Last week, 3 crew members just came back after 3 months in space. And on July 20th, 3 more crew members will actually launch to the International Space Station. As we just said a moment ago, Luca Parmitana will become the commander. He is from Italy, so everyone has been practicing their Italian. Now, we're going to use the space station through 2024 and possibly 2028, but we need to start setting our sights further out. So by 2024, NASA is probably going to go back to the moon with the rest of the world and will eventually go on to Mars. So 2 private companies, Boeing with their Starliner, SpaceX with their Dragon 2, is actually creating taxis to help get astronauts to and from the International Space Station, allowing NASA to explore further out into the universe. So we're going to build this Lunar Gateway. It's basically a space station around the moon where we're going to learn how to work on another planetary body before we eventually send people to Mars somewhere around 2037. Right now, if we were to send people to Mars, that would be a one-way trip. Those people are not coming back alive. It takes 6 to 9 months to get to Mars. We have to stay on the planet for 1.5 to 2 years while it lines up and gets close to Earth. Another 6 to 9 month trip home. So that's a 3.5 to 4 year program. Going to the moon, which is only 4 days away, if something goes wrong, we can come back and then fix the problem. Mars, we can only launch there or come back every 2 years when the planets line up. So right now, it's not a good deal to go to Mars.
Well, going back to the astronaut thing, have you ever had anyone from Ireland?
We have not had an Ireland astronaut. We have had from the UK, from Great Britain so far.
How many days does it take to go to Uranus?
Well, when we look at going out to those planets far out, last 2019, so 3 years ago, we had the first ever unmanned spacecraft go from Earth all the way to Pluto.
Yeah.
That spacecraft was launched in 1997 and arrived at Pluto in 2016.
How come not Uranus?
That was 19 years to get to the end of our solar system.
Uranus, not Uranus.
All right, hang on, guys.
Well, it is true. It is Uranus. Yeah, Uranus.
Yes, sir.
Will.
Gentleman behind you.
Oh, he's trying to, I couldn't see. My dad bought me this ticket, or not bought me, he got me this thing that on the Mars 2020 rover, they're gonna put my name on it along with millions of other people before they send it.
Yep, that's the next unmanned spacecraft going to Mars. You still have the opportunity. You can go online and you get your name and a certificate. It'll actually be on a microfiche that will actually go all the way to Mars, so you can have your name land on Mars.
Okay, so if technically at this point it's impossible to go to Venus because of all the acid rain there, but if we could go there, how long would it take?
Venus, depending on where we are in the orbits, which is the closest planet to us prior to the sun, which is the star. When the Russians launched the Venera spacecraft to Venus, it takes about 4 to 4.5 months to get there. Each planet, depending on where they're lined up, say Mars is easily a 6 to 9 month trip to get there.
And how fast are you traveling at that 4.5 months?
About 25,093 miles an hour is the escape velocity from Earth. So between 25 and 27,000 miles an hour. When we launched spacecraft to the other planets, Jupiter took a couple of years, 2.5, 3 years. Pluto was 19 years. All right, let's try and bring it all back in here for a second, guys. 25,000 miles an hour. So there's no way we can actually build a moon or Mars mission anymore where it's just the United States or just Russia. So just like the International Space Station program, we're going to have the rest of the world contributing different parts. NASA, Canadian Space Agency, Russian Space Agency, European Space Agency, Japanese Space Agency, we're all going to work together to get ourselves to the moon and eventually to Mars. Now, building the space station took a lot of heavy lifting power. We had to use rockets from many different countries to get us there. 143 pieces put together like a big Lego set in the sky. Those pieces have never touched each other on the ground. They have to fit perfectly every single time. When you guys are sitting in math class, you might be saying, where am I going to use that math in the real world? This is the real world. Some of our tolerances between those pieces, up and down, right and left, in and out, are no greater than and no less than 1/1600th of an inch. That is about the width of a human hair. We cut it too far, not far enough, the width of a human hair, all of the air goes out of the space station and 6 people die in less than a minute. This is a business where we measure 3 times and cut only once. We have to be pretty close to perfect every single time. Now you may have noticed that a lot of the actual modules on the space station are round, sort of like this coffee tin. If I was to actually build my space station, I would probably build it rectangular, just like a school bus, a lot more volume. So why do you think we build it round rather than square or rectangular? Yes, sir. Aerodynamics is a great idea. But do we have any air in space? No, we can set any shape we want up there in space.
It fit better in the rockets.
Definitely fits better in the rockets. What is air trying to do in this room right now?
Get out.
Smash it.
Escape. Disappear. If we actually built our space station with a square end pressurized from the inside out, those corners are going to start to bow out. Eventually they will rip in the corners, all the air goes out of the space station, and 6 people die. So by having it round, we have the exact same temperature and pressure over the entire circumference as well as the diameter. It's like working inside a balloon. Everything is pushed outwards. So let's compare that to what happens with a soda can.
If you shake it, it'll... You've been asked to design your next home in space, and you don't quite know where to start. Well, remember that your home in space needs to be pressurized like this soda can. And the most efficient shapes to hold in pressure are spheres, cones, and cylinders, which all have circular cross-sections. Gas pressure pushes evenly in all directions. In a circle, those outward forces all wind up pulling the structure along its circumference, making it act like a hoop or belt. If you tried to make space living quarters out of a box, those forces would try to thin out the flat sides and corners, breaking the box apart. To hold the same pressure and volume as it can, the box would need to have much more material in the walls, making it quite a bit heavier. And heavier things cost more to launch into space. Back on Earth, your soda is in a can too. But what about boxed milk or juice? These products are not under additional pressure, and putting them in boxes allows more to be packed in the same space on the truck. More design tips for your home in space are at nasa.gov.
So the space station, people are living up there 6 months, 9 months, even a year long. We don't have enough room to bring everything up on one rocket. So we actually have a whole bunch of vehicles that are resupply vehicles, almost like delivery trucks like UPS or FedEx. 4 of those vehicles are actually not reusable, so they bring stuff up, but then they serve a dual purpose of being our garbage trucks. We put our dirty clothes, we don't have a washer or dryer up there. We also put all of our actual garbage, our dirt, our used food packages and stuff into these 4 vehicles, and then they actually burn up coming back through the atmosphere. This vehicle is actually reusable, meaning that if something breaks on the space station, we can actually bring it back to Earth, fix it, and relaunch it on another day. If you've ever heard of Robonaut, we had a robot on board that his electrical system went a little bit wacky, so we brought him back last year, fixed him up, and relaunched him to the International Space Station. Here's a help wanted ad for astronauts. We want both boys and girls to become astronauts. We want you to study science, technology, engineering, and math in school. Once you become an astronaut, you're going to move to lovely Houston, Texas, where you're going to go back to school for 5 years to learn about everything on board the space station. Once selected for a flight, another 2 years of going to school. But that schooling will take place in Canada, Europe, Russia, and Japan to learn about their parts of the spaceship. So from the day you become an astronaut, you will be studying for at least 7 years before you may get the chance to fly in space once or twice in a 20 to 25-year career. Your job does require you, though, to sit on top of 4 million pounds of explosives.
Oh my
You'll be
God.
blasted into space going from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in 8.5 minutes. You'll remain in space for days to years and possibly even longer.
Lifetime.
So first time I ask, anyone want to be an astronaut? Got a couple of takers. Excellent. We'll ask again towards the end. Once we get to space, your heart is going to get smaller by 8 to 10% of its size. 6 months in space, you will lose 19% of your bone density, advanced osteoporosis, a disease that in particular hits older ladies. You will lose 25% of your muscle mass. Your kidneys are going to start to stop functioning. You'll have an inability to control your blood pressure. Mind you, sitting on top of a 4 million pound bomb, we give you a pass on that. And just like flight attendants and airline pilots, astronauts have about a 2.5% higher cancer rate than the general population. So that leads to 2 questions. Personally, why would anyone be crazy enough to do this? And secondly, why do great nations explore? Sorry.
Why would you have to sit on top of that?
Because you want to die.
To get to space, we have to get to 17,500 miles an hour. That's 10 times faster than the world's fastest rifle bullet. So unless we have a lot of fireworks under your backside, there's no way you'll get to space. The only way we can do it is to set you on top of a bomb and blast you off.
Yay.
We'll find out in a few minutes. So nowadays, we actually ride a Russian rocket called the Soyuz to get to space. Well, the shuttle was sort of known as the pickup truck of the space program. The Soyuz is known as the taxi. Its job is to get us from Earth to our home in space, and to the mission, home in space, back down to Earth. The Soyuz, the living volume, is about that of the 3 back seats in a Volkswagen Beetle. To get the astronauts into their so-called launch and entry suits, we're going to get you blown up to 3.5 pounds per square inch. We're going to squeeze you all the way down into your seat, and you're going to sit that way for the next 3 days.
What?
Not hours, days. 3 seats, 1, 2, 3. In your suits, on your backs, knees to your chest, elbows to your knees. This is what it looks like after we put your suitcases in and we get ready to close the door.
Wow.
Elbow to elbow, knee to knee. It's sort of like going on a family trip from Door County to Los Angeles. You're going to be stuck that way for the next 3 to 4 days. You're going to be pinching at each other. You're going to be slapping each other. Are we there yet? That vehicle is so small, we don't actually have a kitchen on board. So the Russian food still comes in toothpaste tubes. This is borscht, a Ukrainian stew.
Can I eat it?
We don't have a heater. Now open up the toothpaste tube, squeeze the cold beef and carrots and stuff into your mouth, and then you're going to drink as much water as you can to get it down. The other problem is you don't actually have room for a bathroom on board. So the first thing you put on before you put your spacesuit on is your adult diaper. During launch, landing, and spacewalks, we wear diapers under our spacesuit. This will bring your ego down 2 or 3 levels to say you're ready to ride a rocket into space. But this is not actually a diaper. This is one of our approved 21,000 NASA acronyms. This is a DACT, a Disposable Absorption Containment Trunk. That's your government bureaucracy at work. So once we get to space, we actually have a $10 million waterless toilet, which we'll explain in intimate detail after we get to space. Now once we get to space, we have individual sections of the space station for different purposes. We have sleep stations, we have laboratories, just like on an airplane, one on one side, one on the other. So astronauts living in space for 6, 9, 12 months actually work like you guys do. We work Monday to Friday, and we have weekends off. But it's not like you can get in the Soyuz and come to Door County. So you got to figure out what to do while you're up there. While we're up there, you're only allowed 1 suitcase per person with 10 pounds of stuff. No Walmart in space, no Target in space. You have to figure out what goes in your suitcase. Would you bring your favorite pair of cowboy boots?
No.
Favorite chocolate bar?
Pokemon?
What about favorite stuffed animal?
Yes.
Do astronauts have stuffed animals?
Yes.
Absolutely. You're going to be far away from mom, dad, family, friends. Might even be a little bit scary up there.
So we get the vacation.
I'm going to bring my safety bear.
Aww.
The astronauts will bring up their sons and daughters' stuffed animals with them so they feel safe in an environment that might be a little bit scary. Most recent flight, astronauts brought up a plush toy planet Earth, had the opportunity to sit back and look at home, waking up in the morning, a nice cup of Kona Hawaiian coffee. One night, we even had an alien show up for dinner. I have no idea where that one came from. And now back home. This past spring, I was actually in Maine, where I speak to students every year, and good friend Dr. Jessica Meir was unable to come and present, so I filled in for her, because NASA had given her a phone call a week earlier and said, hey, do you want to go to space? She's like, absolutely. She is going to bring her daughter's stuffed moose from Maine, not the full-size one, a small one, on her flight in September. Now, living up there, the astronauts will actually bring up journals and books to write about their experiences. They'll sit in the cupola in the window playing their guitar as they go around the world every 90 minutes. We'll play games like chess and checkers with the ground. Because everything sort of floats, we need magnets or Velcro on the games. And we'll create new games. Not that basketball or baseball is new, but imagine in the playoffs if the Bucks could score off the ceiling, off the wall, they could float and score from under the net, over the net, many different ways. How we operate in space because of microgravity changes everything. Now, can we actually see roads, buildings, bridges from space? Bridges?
I would not want
Schools?
to look that way.
We can actually see about 1,500 miles of geography with a standard 35mm camera. But looking down with about a 1,000mm lens, we can actually pick out individual schools, individual libraries. So a little bit of a quiz. This is a part of the world that has a lot of desert. It abuts up against a very fertile river valley. You have this river running north and south. A very ancient city that's been around for about 3,000 years.
Sahara Desert.
Not quite Sahara.
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia, getting close. Sonora Desert near Tucson, Arizona, not quite.
Do people still live there?
Absolutely. Not quite Tucson. Take a look at these triangles in the center of the photo.
I know Egypt.
Cairo, Egypt from space, the Great Pyramids of Giza, including the Nile River. This here is the state, Florida. It has a space center on the right. Right here, this big gray area is a city where we actually have castles. Some of the inhabitants have big black ears. That's Orlando from space. Looking all the way up the East Coast, you can go all the way to Cape Hatteras in North Carolina, up past the Chesapeake Bay to the nation's capital, which is Washington, D.C. Heading westward, we can go to Mobile Bay in Alabama, all the way to New Orleans under the clouds. This is a city on a Great Lake, has a series of rivers coming in from the port, even has a baseball stadium that's open in this picture. The roof is open, has a wonderful science center, art museum. Milwaukee from the International Space Station. Here's Miller Field with the roof open. The Pettit Ice Center, Discovery World and the Art Museum right there. How do we know what time it is in space?
Clocks.
We're going around the world every 90 minutes. Sunset 16 times, sunrise 16 times.
Every time you pass one, it's 90 minutes. So you just
No, you just have your clocks going like this.
Your clocks can be doing this all day long.
What about how would compasses work in space?
They don't.
They work in space, but they don't work on the moon because there's no magnetic field. So don't bring a compass with you to the moon. What do you think?
You would have like a timer.
It's a specialized watch that Omega made for us called MET, Mission Elapsed Time. And that exciting countdown before launch. 3, 2, 1, 0, liftoff. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this watch here shows the astronaut has been in space for 100 days, 23 hours, 55 minutes, 44 seconds. So just about 4 minutes to midnight. He wants to set his watch to wake up tomorrow at 8 a.m. He will set his alarm for day 101, 8 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. So it's a count up clock from the day you launch that's going to help you to actually know what time it is. Now once we get to space, we have a little bit of limited space. We have to use every bit of space as workable space. Very tough to tell what's the ceiling, what's the wall, what's the floor. Every bit of space is used for some purpose. Now you guys look like a smart group. Can you guys show me in this room right now, with your hands, which way is up?
The side that we're sitting on.
Down?
That's the
To the right?
starboard.
Other right? There you go. Left? Which way's up in this picture?
Down is up.
This way?
Because the port side is starboard. I want that back.
If we take a look between the astronauts' heads, we have an exit sign like you would find over a gym door, gymnasium door at school. That would indicate the astronauts are in the ceiling.
What else says port?
But
It says port.
if you've been lucky enough to go out on a boat, say out on Sturgeon
Port
Bay,
and starboard.
these technical or big words here, port is to the left, starboard is to the right, which means the astronauts are in the floor in this picture. It's very confusing. Two parts of our body help us to know what's up, down, right, and left. In our inner ear, we have a series of tubes with fluid in them. There's that magical power called gravity. That fluid is going between our toes to the center of the earth. Doesn't matter if we're doing gymnastics, playing basketball, fluid moves with us, tells our brain this is down. But in space, the fluid is floating around our ears. So then we get a little bit confused. Then we're going to use our eyes to help us out. Do our eyes ever play tricks on us? Yes. Sometimes. Here we have this beautiful princess with her crown, nice long locks of hair, but I don't actually see a princess. I see an old lady ready to go to IHOP for Sunday brunch. Once we get to space, your eyes are going to play tricks on you. Your ears are going to play tricks on you. And 75% of astronauts are actually going to get sick in the first 2 to 3 days of spaceflight. Take it, your handy dandy astronaut barf bag, and you throw it in the bag. Everything appears to float. Huge problem called splashback. When the stuff hits the bottom of the bag, it's all going to come back towards your face. You got to close the bag before you get a face full of the bad stuff. Not going to work. As well, we imagine these sponges are our spine, the bones in our back. Once we get to space, they're actually going to start to float and separate.
Wait, so you can bend?
After about 12 hours in spaceflight, you will get taller by as much as 3 inches. If you want to play basketball for the U.S. Olympic team in Tokyo next summer, the place to go is space. Excuse me. As well, we imagine this water balloon is everything inside of us. Once you get to space, everything's going to go upwards. Your face, your neck, and your chest are going to get bigger, and your legs become super, super skinny. We call that puppy face and chicken legs.
I want chicken legs.
And it is very, very noticeable. Here's Kent Rominger, former Chief of the Astronaut Corps, F-14 fighter pilot in the Navy, Top Gun graduate. Here's his NASA class picture Look at him in space. His face is red, it's round like Charlie Brown, his neck is distended, and his cheeks are puffed out like a chipmunk. With all that fluid shift coming upwards, your nose gets stuffed up like having a cold. What does your food taste like when you have a cold? Nothing. So we lose our sense of taste. The astronauts are actually going to put Tabasco sauce, hot sauce, even on their Cheerios for the first couple of days to clean out their nose and regain a sense of taste. Now, do astronauts go to a festival to get their food? Or do we go to some laboratory where we mix everything together? Who thinks festival? Who thinks laboratory?
I think Cheerios.
Go to the same grocery stores you guys do, but specially prepare your food for space flight. Nothing like thermostabilized, irradiated, and freeze-dried sweet and sour chicken.
Delicious.
It for 7 years in the package without going into a fridge. We cannot use a microwave in space. Interferes with our computers and electronics. Can't use a regular oven in space, no convection. Heat's not going to rise and cook things evenly. So just like winter time here in Wisconsin, you might actually have Quaker oatmeal. Mom or Dad will open up the package, put it in the bowl, they'll boil up some water, and then put the water into the bowl and mix it up. Same idea. We actually have a needle in the kitchen. We insert 100 milliliters of hot water into the package, let it float for 3 to 5 minutes, soaks up the water, and you have a meal. We can't bring a big kitchen table into space. It's just going to float around, as are your chairs. So your kitchen table in space is a piece of aircraft-grade aluminum. Everything is attached by either Velcro or magnets. Once your food is ready, simply undo your Velcro straps, attach your kitchen table to your leg, then you can float around and eat any way you want. Upside down, right side up, doesn't matter. You can eat upside down. Now we also do not want to bring up regular bread in space. Anything that makes crumbs will be floating around in the environment. Get it in your eyes, up your nose, in your ears, down your throat. All of our sandwiches, hot dogs, hamburgers, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, we use a Hispanic flatbread known as tortillas for all of our sandwiches. We can't use regular salt and pepper in space. It's just going to bounce off of everything. So we have liquid salt, liquid pepper, and you squeeze out of an eyedropper into each individual spoonful of your food. Fluids behave a little bit differently in space. They're going to come out like a tennis ball, be floating around. The astronauts a lot of times will just drink their drink out of the air. But if we're in an area where an experiment or a computer might get ruined, we actually have a space cup, which is the same technology as that of a Capri Sun juice bag. It is a Mylar bag. Even hot drinks like tea with sugar, we have to use a straw. Can't use a regular McDonald's straw because everything's going to come out of the package. So this is actually an astronaut sippy cup. We have a lock on our straw. Undo the lock when you want to drink. If you don't want the drink to come out, close the lock, everything stays inside. Unlock it and then you can drink it. Yes. It's because of surface tension, it will just come right up and out. Okay, excellent question. The question is there anywhere besides space that we can actually simulate weightlessness? There's no such thing as a room here on Earth where we just turn off the light switch and gravity disappears. So I've actually done 4 flights on an airplane called the Weightless Wonder, where just like going to Six Flags, we do these parabolas through the sky. You get 30 seconds of weightlessness, 2G, 0G, 2G.
Oh yeah.
NASA calls it the Weightless Wonder. Those of us that fly on it, it's affectionately known as the vomit comet, because you are going to get sick.
It takes 3 or 4 days to get to space, but how many miles is that?
It's not a matter of, it takes us 8.5 minutes to get to space, but then it's 2.5 days to get our orbits in sync so we can eventually rendezvous, until we get to the same altitude and speed with the space station.
And how many minutes did you say it takes?
To get to space from Florida, 8.5 minutes.
Ow.
Can you have a bad hair day in space?
No.
You have long hair, it's going to be up floating around like snakes. You have a long hoodie with cords on it, or you're wearing a long necklace, it'll be tickling your chin the whole time you're there.
Gucci.
You can't have a bath, water's not going to stay in the tub. Can't have a shower, water's not going to fall down towards us. So we actually have, just like if you're in the hospital or camping, a no-rinse waterless shampoo. You can actually get this at CVS or Walgreens, even as the shuttle on the back to show we use it in space. Simply get it on your hands, get your hair all nice and clean, comb it or brush it, and it dries in less than 5 minutes without rinsing. For a bath in space, Pampers not only supplies us with our diapers, but they supply us with baby wipes. Imagine 6 months to a year without a bath or shower. What are you going to want when you come home? A nice bath or a hot shower? For cutting your hair in space, we don't want little bits of hair floating around, getting in your eyes, your ears, your nose, or throat. So we actually attach the clippers to a vacuum cleaner. Brushing your teeth in space, we don't have a sink. We don't want you to just spit the stuff out and end up all over your friend's face. So we have a special toothpaste that is not bad for your stomach. Get it on your toothbrush, get your teeth nice and clean, and you swallow it and get on with the rest of your day. Do not try that at home with non-astronaut toothpaste, because you will have a sore stomach. For sleeping in space, we actually have a light sleeping bag. You simply get into your sleeping bag. You can sleep by velcroing yourself to the wall, standing straight up, sideways, even upside down. Astronauts' most popular way of sleeping. Get into your sleeping bag, close your eyes, and just sleep, floating around the cabin all night. No tossing and turning, no fighting with your pillow. If you feel you need a pillow, we have a standard government-issued travel pillow. But the big problem is, once you get all tired and sleepy, what's going to happen?
It's just gonna get up.
Your pillow's going to float away. If you are a light sleeper, it'll wake you up. So NASA's high-tech solution, Velcro and a rubber band, attach your pillow to your head and go to sleep. If it is not dark enough for you inside the spacecraft, a very fashionable eye cover as well. Now, I know you guys were excited to come here today, open up your dresser drawer, socks, t-shirt, underwear, everything stays where it is. Open your drawer in space. Having your underwear floating around in space is on national TV is not cool. You need to make sure you put that stuff away. Now, in training the astronauts, I've been lucky enough to do 4 flights on the Vomit Comet aircraft. I've also done a spacewalk on the world's largest, deepest swimming pool, the Neutral Buoyancy Lab.
Oh yeah, I know.
And I've also got a 3-hour training certificate from the astronaut potty training facility in Building 30 of the Johnson Space Center. Similar to Earth, we hop up and onto the toilet. After that, everything changes. 2 foot loops that sort of look like slippers that your feet go into. 2 padded bars that go across your legs to push you down towards the seat. Third part of the process, you're going to turn on the TV beside the toilet. Why would we have a TV beside the toilet?
You can watch.
You can watch. What are you going to watch?
Peppa Pig.
SpongeBob. Toy Story 2.
Well, here on Earth, grab Gravity pulls the waste away from our body. In space, everything floats, including the waste from our body. So there's actually a camera in the bottom of the toilet looking straight up at you in a way you've never seen yourself before. So you are watching yourself on the TV to get lined up over the toilet to make sure the stuff gets into the toilet. There are astronauts. There are astronauts that have missed 2 rubber gloves, a Ziploc bag, and you have to chase the stuff down. If the toilet does not work, very expensive long-distance call for a plumber. We're not going to end a $500 million space mission because the toilet doesn't work. So until a resupply ship comes up with spare parts for the toilet, an industrial strength Ziploc bag, we spray some chemicals into the bag, 2 pieces of double-sided tape, tape to one cheek, tape to the other, and you go to the bathroom in a Ziploc bag. So you have survived riding a bomb into space, your body's bloated, you're throwing up, your food tastes like cardboard, you haven't had a bath or shower in 6 months, and you've missed the toilet. Still think these are heroes?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It takes a special kind of person to want to live and work there. Now, we said earlier, we go to space to do things that are impossible to do on Earth. Imagine if the Bucks were able to play basketball off the ceiling, float around and score from under the net, over the net. 3-dimensional games like tic-tac-toe. So we go to space to do things that are impossible to do here on Earth. This here is a birthday candle here on Earth. Because of convection, we have that teardrop shape, different temperatures, different pressures. This is what that same candle will look like in space. A perfect circle around the entire wick. That's the way things behave in that environment. But that also makes it almost impossible to fight a fire in space. If we have a liquid fire extinguisher, the water is going to come out in droplets. This is going to bounce off the flame and not put it out. We have a chemical fire extinguisher where the chemical is heavier than air. Here on Earth, gravity brings it down and smothers the fire out. In space, everything weighs the same, so it's just going to disperse all over the place and not put the fire out. The 2 single most dangerous things we can have in space, an air leak or a fire. And 99% of the time, that is going to be a fatal situation. In 1997, we had 12 astronauts on the Russian space station Mir, where we had a 13-minute fire where those people came this close to dying. They had to use old clothes, they had to use water bags, and smother the fire out using their bodies. Very, very tough thing. One of the experiments I sent into space was human cancer cells. Here on Earth, because of gravity, over 5 hours in a beaker, those cells will fall to the bottom of the beaker and form a line. We can still study them quite well. In space, those same cells over 5 hours will coalesce to the center of the beaker and form their perfect natural shape. We are now doing, through space technology and new medicines, we are actually marking cancer cells and creating technology eventually that will attack only the cancer cells. And unlike radiation and chemotherapy that destroys healthy cells, we are creating through space technology, sort of like a video game, a technology where we will destroy only cancer cells and not destroy healthy cells in the same process. Spacewalk is one of the most exciting things you can do, but it's also one of the most dangerous. Just like a heavy winter here in Wisconsin, this year in Sheboygan we had 5 days at 57 below. It was warmer on Gale Crater on Mars than it was in Sheboygan, so we need a big heavy winter coat. The spacesuit actually has 11 different layers of material to keep you alive in that extreme environment. Hard outer rubberized shell, multiple layers of mylar interspersed with Kevlar that's used in bulletproof vests, and a couple of big words: neoprene, latex, Gore-Tex, and nylon tricot. Now the nylon tricot with the tubes in it is the part that is actually closest to our body. And it's sort of like astronaut long underwear. T-shirt and pants in one piece. We're out on a spacewalk, we're working hard, we're a little bit warm, maybe even sweaty. Turn a dial in the front of the spacesuit to the right, and cool water runs through these tubes in your t-shirt and pants. You're on the dark side of the spacewalk, very cold. Turn the dial the opposite way, and warm water runs through your t-shirt and pants to warm you up. So it's a heating and cooling system to help you stay comfortable. Now, beginning of the school year, any of your parents buy you a new pair of pants?
Yes.
Awesome. Any of your parents buy you a $3 million pair of pants?
Yes.
What does a $3 million pair of pants look like?
Oh, I got it. Gucci.
The entire spacesuit is $10 million to keep you alive in an environment where there's no air, it's both hot and cold, and a tremendous amount of radiation that could hurt you. Going out on a spacewalk, 2 different gloves that we wear. First one is sort of like a garden glove if you're helping mom and dad plant plants. And it has all these cords that sort of look like shoelaces. What do you think those are used for? What does your shoelaces do? Tie. So you want to have a tight fit on your glove, pull down on the cord, tie it off, and have a little bit of room to play in the edge of your glove, loosen it, tie it off where you have the best grip. Over that, a big heavy work glove, just like you might find at a construction site. Tear resistant. Last thing you want to hear on a spacewalk is psst. You have an air leak in your suit, blood will boil, and you will die in less than 45 seconds. So you want to have no actual tears. Now everything sort of floats in space, so we're going to attach the astronaut to the space station with a cord called a tether. We're also going to attach all of your tools to your spacesuit with a tether, so if you do let go of it, it'll never go further than arm's reach. You're passing over California, you're working on a satellite. NASA says, hey, you're going to be over Wisconsin in less than 3 minutes. Leave your tool floating around, unvelcro your Nikon, take a picture of home. NASA's like, okay, get back to work, Wisconsin astronaut. You're going to re-stow your camera, then just grab your tool, and you're ready to go. So everything has to be attached by a cord. Let's see what it's like to get ready to come home.
Welcome aboard the Soyuz MS spacecraft with non-stop service for Kazakhstan. Our flight time will be just under 3 hours 30 minutes. We'll be descending from an altitude of over 1,300,000 feet. At the time of departure, we're flying at a ground speed of 17,500 miles per hour. Please make sure all carry-on items are secured and that your seatbelt is correctly fastened. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering the upper levels of Earth's atmosphere. The estimated temperature outside is over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. During this zone of turbulence, we recommend you keep your seatbelt fastened while you're seated. As we start our final descent, our speed is down to 24 feet per second. At 1 second before touchdown, engines on the bottom of the vehicle will fire to soften the landing. On behalf of the entire crew, I'd like to thank you for flying with us. Welcome to Kazakhstan.
So when we actually come home, the space shuttle used to land like an airplane. It had wings and a tail. Russia does not have a lot of open water that does not have ice on it like we do with the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. So we actually land in the middle of a farmer's field in Kazakhstan. All that fire underneath is what we call the soft landing jets. You're still going to hit the ground at about 35 miles an hour. It's a small car crash. So imagine your bones are weak, your muscles are weak, and you're going to smack into the ground.
That hurt.
Twice, the landing radar failed to tell the crew to brace. Broken teeth, broken wrist, and even broken vertebrae. Vertebrae vertebrae is your spine. Those astronauts were never allowed to fly in space again. So, well, they broke bones and stuff in landing, so they had a lot of
I
problems.
just keep racing.
So we're going to end off here with a video called Coming Home. It shows you even though astronauts love being in space, you're going to want to come home and tell your family and friends about it, and then we can open the floor to questions if you have any.
Bye.
You can hold on to, looking deeper through the telescope. You can see that your home's inside of you. Just know that wherever you go, no, you're never alone. You will always get back
Thanks, Ollie. Thanks for getting me home.
That's a little bit of what it's like to live, work, eat, sleep, play in space. And if you have any questions, we can answer a few questions as well.